I have seen examples on my own where, young guys at a 5, 7, 8 lakh salaries are making 40, 50 lakhs of incentives. Addicted to the drug of salary. BIM is not a software; it's an ecosystem. Right? So we have been using BIM in bits and pieces. मेरे को ये चाहिए, but not at an additional cost is the client's first thing.
Correct.
But again, what happens is too much of information giving is also very harmful at a lot of times.
In the recent times, probably let's say post-COVID era, right? What have been like the most common requests from clients who are looking at office spaces?
First thing, what I require is the communication. Second thing is the structured approach.
All right. So today we are very grateful and honored to have this. I didn't know actually, but recently I realized that one of my senior from my college, right, and someone who is an expert in commercial real estate, in academics, the way education industry has worked, that is something that of his expertise, and which he probably will share in the future. A third generation civil engineer.
Yes.
Right? So, Mr. Amrit Panda, who is right now in the business development side, expansion of businesses, that is his expertise, working for one of the biggest IPCs in Bangalore, India, of course, in the world, Colliers International. All right? So, it's Colliers International or Colliers India now?
It's Colliers.
Colliers.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
So, I would like to welcome you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Niyanth, for having me.
Great. So, Amrit, first, let me ask, when you say third generation civil, right? Is that added pressure or a comfort?
It's a comfort.
Can you elaborate?
Because see, when I grew up, I'll tell you. So, I know what a cube was being tested at the sites. It used to happen at home, because my dad used to be one of the heads of one of the divisions. So, we used to have those cubes at our home before being transferred to some other offices.
Hey.
I've seen the crushing test and all happening right in front of me, maybe when I was 7 or 8 years old.
Correct.
So that gave me an ideology of how do I look at civil engineering. So civil engineering is not civil engineering for me, it was life.
Correct.
Now, because you listen to your dad and dad's dad. So both the big bosses of the house talking about it.
Yeah.
And you being a growing child, when you have a participation in the conversation, you need some matter, right? So, that's where it all started off.
Yeah.
Although I believe when I reached to my 10th or 11th, or you call it PUC here, we call it +2, somewhere you call it 11th, 12th, I think I did not have much clarity about if I want to do something other than civil engineering. Right? If you ask me, I love cars. I said I can be automobile engineer. Later only in life, I come to realize not all automobile engineers work on cars.
Work on cars, yeah.
Right? But so absolutely, when I reached my engineering, I think civil engineering was a but obvious choice. Dad said, I'd be grateful if you choose the same path. And I was more than happy to do. Right. So that's how I ended up being a civil engineer. So when I got my admission as a civil engineering student, I think my mom said, maybe you are securing another generation because I think your son is going to repeat the same dialogue to your grandson or granddaughter.
Yeah.
So do not have kids yet. So I don't know if it will be that in the future, but that's how I ended up being a civil engineer.
Great. So now let's look at in terms of, I want to know the crux of you being in a different side of civil.
Correct.
See, because majority of us, for sure, have been exposed to one side of construction, which is constructing.
Constructing.
The other side is what happens after construction, which is selling, buying,
before as well.
Leasing, or the tendering, contract, selection,
Yes.
feasibility. So there are multiple sides, perspectives to a single point of construction, right? So now you are in the third phase, which is probably post handover, or let's say the leasing, selling kind of a space. How do you see that working? What is the trend? How is it working in Bangalore, India? What's your understanding of that?
So your question has two different parts.
Yeah. Please do.
So the first part, I'm going to be a little explanatory on that. How I ended up on being on the other side of the industry, being an engineer. So being an engineer, I believe we all, I think most of us are, all of us are civil engineers, right? So civil engineers, we think, okay, we need to build. Right. But when you work for a company, so somebody to build, you need that project to come to that company. Right. Now, business development is not a very highly lucrative name in the past, in our phase of careers when I started off. Sales, BD, or marketing. These are three different terminologies. Just make it. There is a hell and heaven difference between the work, but nobody ever thought, this is actually very useful, or it can be a career path to choose after you have done a civil engineering and your graduation.
Correct.
Right. So, okay, honestly, I'll tell you, first thing was I never wanted to get into the part of government jobs. Why? You may say I was already tired of looking at the family tradition. Or maybe, a part of the other dark part of the world where there's a lot of corruption involved.
True.
It is there. I mean, we may spell it out, we may not. It is there. I don't say, private sector mein nahi hai. Sorry if I use Hindi in between, but I won't say it's not there in private sector, but it's definitely. See, corruption is a part of the democracy. You cannot avoid. You cannot pick it out. But that's one of the other reasons why I didn't want to get into his government sector.
Yeah.
Now, if I had to do the same, right, and I wanted to come to a corporate side, trust me, having a white collar job on the corporate side, being a civil engineer, they want your hairs gray. All right. At the age of 22, 24, nobody is going to make you a project manager. Nobody is going to make you a general manager. Nobody is going to give you a job. Okay, you're not going to be accountable for anything. You're only going to become the scapegoats.
Correct.
I mean, let's be honest about it.
Yes.
So I had, that's the point of time where I think during the engineering itself, I had chosen the path of, I won't say exactly entrepreneurship, but to be on the whiter side of it, where how you deal with it, right? So I found out, okay, getting projects is as important as executing those projects. How would you execute a project if you don't get one? Correct?
True.
So that's one place which I think, and I was always good with people. I love talking. Trust me. And when I say I love talking, you cannot only talk bullshit and you get the project right. So having a family background and the civil engineering, I think it added up all to be developing the technical acumen which is required, right? So that's when I went into, I would love to talk about my first job, which was at KEF, later known as Katera. Right. My directors, my VPs, they used to depend on me because when we are sitting with the client for a 300, 400, 500 crore project, and we are 20% above the market price, right? And I'm talking about market price, not even on the lower side or the median of it. I'm talking about somebody who is a L&T or a Sapulji, construction costs. Okay. So we are at, say, 20% premium of them. And we need to convince the client. So there was, technically you have to convince them.
Correct.
And it was a precast company, right? And the construction and precast of modular construction, and you have 1,000 names to it now, right? But what happened is, since it was a new technology altogether, people needed to be convinced about the technicality of it. Me being a young guy,
and the awareness was quite low.
It's still
almost nil. Oh yeah,
It's still low.
Correct.
It was nil back then. It is still low.
Correct.
But I'll tell you what happens is, the moment you say somebody, okay, you can say you're sitting in IBC space. So back in 2017, I met Mr. Sharif, who happens to be the chairman here. Danish is the second generation now, right? So Sharif sir said, okay, I want to build, say, 4 million square feet.
Wow.
And how much? It's going to cost me 20% more, you're saying.
Correct.
What do I get out of it? I said time benefit. Even at a 60% occupancy versus as blah, 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 you are going to gain this many crores.
Correct.
So, okay. Now you are saying you will do it prefab.
Okay.
Is it as good as the conventional construction? Is the first question any of the developers still ask. If you talk about a Vaishnavi, you talk about a Prestige, you talk about an Embassy, I've worked with them all. So, small, big, some project I've done with all of them. And everybody had the same question. That's where even my bosses who could crack to get into a meeting, but for them to sit there and talk to them and about the strength, about what rods are being used, about what grade of concrete being used, why is the grade of concrete being used, how is the transportation incurred, and what quality of cranes. I'm telling you, we have used the India's biggest cranes, which is available for buildings. I'm not talking about the bridges, but buildings can you, whatever cranes you have seen.
Vaishnavi North 24s.
No,
the project.
Serene.
Yeah.
Serene, yeah. So that was one of our projects. I think my cousin used to head that project. We both came into KEF at the same time as management trainees. 2 years we were all...
That was like a flagship project back in the day, right? In terms of prefab construction.
I think another project was Embassy 7B, Embassy Tech Village, where the Quest office is there.
Correct. Quest Global.
Yeah. So that building is a 16-month delivered building. It's a 1.6 million square feet. You're talking of delivering approximately 1 lakh square feet a month.
Yeah.
Finished. I'm talking with the glazings done, with the our first level of MEP curve, the holes, the placements, everything done. It was ready in 16th months. The reason was Quest Global had leased half of it. Embassy wanted to start their rentals ASAP.
Correct.
And they were more than happy to do it. So back in the day, I think Synergy used to be there, which merged with Colliers, where I work today.
Correct.
So I had the pleasure of talking to Mr. Sankey and Jatin, who used to head Synergy back then. And they are like my bosses now.
Yeah.
So it's a small world. It's a small world. So coming from that side of the industry where I still use that acumen, which I got over the period of time to convince people. I went to, say, the division of BIM after that. I went ahead with a couple of co-founders to start up a BIM startup, where we strategized a lot and we started off. I think it was a great learning because COVID hit. Business was not shut down, but we were payable around 4.5 crores and the US market shuts. You have no other way to go, but you have to shut down. So although the company didn't shut down the doors, but what happens is we did not know that something of this stature can happen and we have to hedge. That was another learning.
Just to cut you here, what do you think of the industry of BIM right now? Have we scratched the surface yet?
We have just scratched the surface.
So what do you see the potential of it?
Immense, yeah. I mean, although right now in the last 2 years, I think I have been away from the technical side of BIM. But
in terms of how developers are viewing it, in terms of how contractors are viewing it,
now they're realizing the potential of it.
Correct.
See, 5 years back, 4 years back, when we used to approach them of talking about a digital twin, they were like, we are good with what we have because this is adding another 50 rupees per square feet is what they felt.
Correct.
That on a long run is going to be hedged with your reconciliation. In your facility management itself, it eases up your life. I think we also didn't know it, to be honest. I mean, we used to talk about it, preach about it.
But as a practical example?
Practical example, we're very less in India. I mean, we can talk only about, say, 4 or 5 buildings which were, conceived in the BIM stage, using BIM. in the design stage.
Right.
To the facility management, they're using that model to maintain the building. I think the first one of them was ITC, who the Gurgaon project, which they did. It's one of the used examples across the country, across the industry. Another building was, I think, this one. So later, you see, the first airport, which was 100% compliant, they say, is International Airport 2, Terminal 2, Bangalore. They had spent approximately 400 crores implementing BIM. Now, if you ask somebody, 400 crores, is it a worth investment? That is why people will start diminishing. No, BIM we used only 40 crores. Why? Because design development say when you use it, people did not know. I mean, I have worked with at least 8 of their vendors. One was a firefighting vendor, one was a facade vendor, one was a tiling vendor.
And then they're not aware of how this works.
That is why they had to find some agency who was, BIM
Also the consulting.
Yeah. And they used to have BIM 360, which is again central model pe something happens, they screw your life.
Correct.
So it was damn interesting also, because the entire episode of Bangalore airport, as an example, which is the first 100% BIM compliant airport, it's fantastic. And L&T is to be given the credit for it here. I mean, I've seen their office in Chennai where they had at least 234 people only for MEP. But you have to understand, BIM is not about the modeling of that in 3D.
Correct.
It is about extracting the quantity. It is about using that quantity for your simulations, for mapping to the schedule, integrating your MSP data into it. A hell lot of things are there. Yeah? So we have been using BIM. I mean, BIM is not a software; it's an ecosystem. Right? So we have been using BIM in bits and pieces. But I think now that we are upcoming, people are understanding. Even when I talk about corporate interiors today, right? International firms are now, putting stress on the point that, we need a BIM model after you complete the whole thing. Now, the point is, after you complete the whole thing, making into a BIM model doesn't make sense.
Makes sense. It has to be from design.
Yes. So that's how BIM is. I think there's another company called Clany Global where I have worked. I mean, they're rocking it here. They're rocking it.
But is it Indian clients or is it mostly the Western clients?
So they are a PMC.
Correct.
Okay. The primary business is MEP design.
Sure.
Okay. So what they have done is they have implemented whatever projects they have designed, they have implemented there in the BIM ecosystem and using it during their PMC. And PMC, they used all singular softwares. I'm talking about Excel and Airtable. Okay. Taking the data from there, putting it here, making it an interface for the client to see and track.
All dashboards.
So, I mean, Akhil Ganatra, if we get a chance sometime, we should do a session with him. He's a visionary guy. I mean, that's where I learned a lot of things about how we use BIM for PMC, how we use BIM for tracking, we use for quantification. But what happens, end of the day, when you start taking quantities manually, and there is slight difference between your quantification from your BIM model and the actual one, that's when you start losing trust.
Correct.
So people would rather spend time on doing the manual thing further than making up the model or what they went wrong in the model. Okay, ye phir baad mein dekh lenge. Where next project mein dekh lenge. That is where the hesitation is. I think this is just the comfort that people have to get here. I would not say it is scratching the surface.
In that case, anyway, see, any technology which has come to construction, I would say we are pretty hesitant to change initially, at least in Indian construction.
Absolutely.
Because we were just talking about how the syllabus has been same for last 60 years. Because I like to share. So he was telling me like 80% of the syllabus that he has studied, his grandfather studied in civil engineering.
Absolutely, yes.
So, which they are studying now, because I know their syllabus. And I'm like, this is what my dad studied in 70s. Your grandfather probably in 50s, 60s.
50s maybe.
Yeah. So
I remember the subjects हो गया, soil mechanics हो गया, your
Fluid mechanic, then hydraulics.
hydraulics हो गया, irrigation engineering हो गया. So my grandfather and father both worked for the irrigation department. So that was one of the easiest, drawings and all, because I have seen all of the elements in irrigation that can be there. So it used to be one of the easiest thing, but my dad was like, yeah, this is what I used to see my dad working. That's how I knew. And yeah, so that there is no much change here. There is no much change. You can't help it. So, innovation will be there. Absolutely. But I believe those are fundamentals. You can't help. You cannot change that. Unlike a computer science or a IT engineering, we do not have that opportunity कि यार कुछ नया मिलेगा. It's for us to learn the new things which are being
Coming up in
the market and implement that with the traditional thing which we learn in the colleges. Now, I mean, I'm sure all of the young guys must be having a question. Actually, am I using everything that I studied in civil engineering in my career? कुछ नहीं use करोगे. But trust me, even the IT guys do not, even the electrical guys do not, even nobody does.
Okay. But the difference is they learn through the course. Like some new software comes, they learn. Some new tool comes, they learn.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in civil, that's not been the case.
Till date, you have to learn the AutoCAD. Yeah. I mean, AutoCAD, I think, when the supercomputers and the big computers were there, that time it started off. Till date, we are using AutoCAD.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have, some of you have, transitioned into a Revit or something yet. It cannot be the primary software. It cannot be the primary software in the sites yet.
It's majority AutoCAD. And if they have some design team, then Revit. Now 3ds Max. Again, some rendered photos will come.
So basically, your dad is an architect, right? If you tell him that, this is Revit, let's build it on Revit, first thing he'll do is he'll take a paper and start drawing it. The concept starts, agreed.
100%.
Then if he has a client meeting, the first thing he will have his hand on is the AutoCAD tab, not the Revit tab.
True.
Now that is where I think the new generation engineers have to transition.
You cannot start with just basics of AutoCAD.
Yes.
That cannot be enough now. Probably it worked in 90s because I still tell my father, like, you cannot just do with AutoCAD. He's like, I've done 40 years. You try new things. Don't tell me new things. So that's how they work. But coming to, let's say, the industry of, like you told, you have to get the business to construct something, right?
Yes.
Let's look into the art of getting businesses. Now, when you say getting business, of course, clients are different. Requirements are different. And especially in leasing, everyone has their own customized thinking, dream, office space. With so much variety, what are few things which are common in most clients when you go for a meeting?
First thing is the tantrum.
Tantrum. I think these guys will relate. Most of them are working in contractor firms.
Okay.
So they'll relate the client issues. If you ask them also, their major issue is, every time site client will tell us change at the last
Change it at the last moment.
True.
That is true. See, yes, the common thing, as I said, tantrum is obviously there. Because if you imagine yourself in the client's place, so you want an office today, right? You are the founder of a firm. Now you see one space, you loved it, and let's go for it. Then what happens? One of your team member happens to see another contemporary space and come. And then he shows you some photos. You say, okay, tomorrow let's visit it. Maybe it's his friend's firm. It has nothing to do with the process of office evaluation.
Correct.
But he's a director. Right? So he sees, I think this type of amphitheater makes sense for our town halls. Why not?
Correct.
But that comes at a cost. And we are where we are sitting, we are in one of the prime locations of Bangalore.
Yeah.
And you have to spend that additional cost. मेरे को ये चाहिए. But not at an additional cost is the client's first thing.
Correct.
Now, for which what happens is, as a consultant for us, most of the times we have developed a different approach, right?
Where Today, if I say, what do you want? And then give you options accordingly.
Yeah.
So you want to, for example, you want to eat rice, I'll get you rice. That doesn't solve the purpose of a consultant today.
Fair.
So I have to make sure if you like Chinese, I get the good fried rice for you. But I should also know if you're a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian.
Yes.
So that I do not get a vegetarian guy a non-veg fried rice. Similarly, what happens is if I know, okay, the typology of the company is a traditional company, I have to get into the level of, where the talent pool will be. First thing is the location, okay? Because people see Eco World, I don't know how many of you have gone, Eco World is an amazing tech park.
Yeah.
Okay? Embassy Tech Village is amazing tech park. Similarly, Embassy Golf Links is also amazing.
The one behind.
Where we are sitting today, Diamond District, this is great. This is an old age building.
All right.
Now, if you go to a Godrej Indranagar, which is right next to your Baipanali metro station, which is perhaps one of the only such a big building in the entire vicinity with such a big floor plate. Now, you'd like it. But everything is good. But now for your business, this is the right place. That's why you chose it.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of companies who come from abroad or say other city expansion,
Okay.
or the other case is there is a new organization which just got funded and they want to increase to, say, 200, 300 people. So we are talking about a 25, 30,000 square feet. When you're talking about 20, 30,000 square feet, you're talking of at least a 5 to 7 crores of cash flow every year for the company.
Correct.
Right? Now you have to show them those numbers. That is the approach. Okay, this area, this. No, but what if you chose, okay, I can have an office in Indranagar, but you are a fintech company where the talent pool is in the outer ring road.
Yeah.
Why? Because your competitors are there. Hence, that is the strategy that we have to follow. Well, today, I do not pop up to a client saying, do you have a requirement?
Yeah.
I go to a client saying, how is the business doing? Where is the growth? Are we growing technically? Are we growing in customer representative side? Are we growing in the management side? Are we executive hiring? Because a lot of office space requirement can be aligned with the executive hiring.
Yeah. True.
If boss stays in Indranagar, the office will be in Indranagar. If 7 of the 10 bosses are in, say, Belandur or Sarjapur Road, that is the best location it can be. But then what we do is, that is one approach.
Yeah.
The other approach is, some of the clients were okay to do. We do a complete heat map analysis, right? With pin codes. We have certain platforms where we can generate complete heat map. Okay, this is the triangle or this is the square where these are the 4 locations which can be the best for you. Putting forward your current cash outflow at a 10% additional outflow, which should be your new budget. These are the 5 locations which are apt for you. See, this is a very strategic approach to the
Correct.
Right? When you formulate a strategy along with the client, you are invested with them and they are invested with you. That's where it makes the difference. If I have to just pull out a list of buildings and show,
Then there is nothing difference between consultant and a broker.
Correct. So you have to use that approach. Now today, again, being a civil engineer, what happens is today if I see if you ask me now what is the floor to ceiling height, I would not be able to tell you it is 11 feet, 8.2 inches or so, right? But obviously I would know a difference between a 12 feet height and a 8 feet height or a 10 feet height. And I said, this is this.
Correct.
A lot of questions come from the clients around the point that how is the quality of construction? Now, I cannot defame a developer saying he doesn't do good, he does good. So this cannot be a generic question. But case-to-case basis, since we know the backgrounds of each buildings now, so these buildings are products of their own developers. But across all developers, all the buildings are my products for them. Because the client trusts me with the acumen for the quality of construction. What is the, the gradient of the tech park? There are a few clients who are asking that today, especially after the fiasco, what happened in a couple of tech parks where, the basements were filled with water during the rain.
Correct.
People are asking. So this acumen helps me. Why? Because even if I don't have the information, I can perhaps calculate in the back of the mind and go back to the, right? Which gives me an added advantage vis-a-vis a regular, say, a hotel management or a graduate broker who will come into the picture saying, okay, let me ask and get back to you. That is where I get that advantage.
Yeah, this is where I've seen a shift, right? So probably 10 years back, very few from civil construction technical background were a part of, let's say, business development in IPCs.
Absolutely.
It was all your MBA marketing, MBA sales guys.
Yes.
Now it's turning into probably an ICMA or RACS or even Ascent. Couple of them have gone into business development.
So happy.
So that is where I'm seeing the shift where they also understand that, okay, technical acumen is required because clients are very much educated now.
Yes.
And they come with information. Before it was mostly a request for information. Now it's like demand for...
Demand. It is a demand. It is a demand. And I tell you, these days, we say Indian companies like say a Flipkart or a PhonePe or a Paytm, or an international firm like it can be NVIDIA, it can be JP Morgan. See, these bigger firms have the kind of budget for hiring experts on their panel. The smaller firms do not.
Correct.
So ideally, it is our responsibility and duty to enlighten them.
Correct.
But again, what happens is too much of information giving is also very harmful at a lot of times. Yeah. So you tell them, and then they will start questioning your own thing, right? Acha, no, you told that that place has this height issue. Now how is this? Then you are stuck. So always tend to give information, but in the controlled manner. That's what I would say.
In the recent times, probably let's say post-COVID era, right? What have been like the most common requests from clients who are looking at office spaces? Let's say, see, there are few changes that have happened, like hybrid era came into picture. Now they're all coming back. Then a lot of focus has been put up into certifications of the building.
Absolutely.
And they want like a grade A building or even the ESG certifications, let's say, sustainability certificate. So apart from this, let's say, do you see like a common kind of a request where the requirements of clients have changed compared to when you started, let's say?
Okay.
First thing, I'll just, like to tweak what you asked. What is a grade A building? Okay. What is a grade A building? I mean, it's an open question to anybody. Now, what a grade A building is to you may not be to me. Okay. A building may be ESG certified, LEED Platinum. It can be a IGBC Gold. It can be everything. Wellness certified. There's something called a Wired score. Wired certified. Everything. People still call it it's a grade B building. You know why? Because it will be of maybe a smaller developer. Or it's not a big building, or it's not a big tech park.
Correct. It's like a standalone.
Yeah. So today, if I have to compare Diamond District versus Embassy Golf Links versus a Godrej Funds Indiranagar, that Godrej is a standalone building, but it's still a grade A building. Why? Because it looks good.
And Godrej.
Now, perspective of the clients are very different. That's where you define that grade A thing. The question that you asked is, apart from this, what are the different questions, right? But defining this grade A itself has a lot of questions which has changed now.
Correct.
Right? Earlier, they used to ask for the floor-to-floor heights only. From there, they have shifted to asking what is the clear height. There's a difference. I think all of us would understand floor-to-floor and clear height because it's a big difference. Another question which has completely changed is efficiency. Efficiency is a very funny term in the corporate real estate. I'll redirect the question to you. What is efficiency of a building?
Energy.
No, so efficiency of a floor plate. The usable area versus the built-up area.
Correct.
Correct? So that is a constant number, right? But if you have a look at the tech parks, now what happens is, if I say today, if I say 78 or 80% of efficiency is there. So which means if I lease 100 square feet, I'm getting a carpet area of 80 square feet at least.
Correct.
Apart from your walls, apart from the pillar areas, apart from everything, carpet area where I can walk. I can put a carpet, right? That's what efficiency technical terms mein hota hai, correct?
Correct.
Now what happened is, these days that is being used as a commercial term.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. There are a few tech parks in the city where I'll not name them now, but 6-7 years ago, all the leases were revised,
Fair.
saying the efficiency has reduced. Now, for a built-up building, how do you reduce the efficiency? So, hence, these days, efficiency kya hai bol ke the people are not asking. They're straight away asking what is the carpet area we're getting. Right? Because if you go to Bombay, any efficiency above a 60% is a luxury.
Correct.
In Bangalore, any efficiency below a 78 or a 76% is a minus point.
So,
Okay. Still, there are grade A buildings, grade A tech parks, which have at a 70% efficiency. Technically, no. But why it has become like that, there's a story to it. I mean, everybody wants to pick up their revenue, right?
correct.
So if I had, say, I'm using 80 square feet today, out of 100, 80 is the efficiency we declared during take-up of the space. Now today I cannot revise that because I'm using 80 square feet. Now if I say my efficiency of the building, because we have made more number of buildings and all loadings are there and all, efficiency is only 70%. So you pay on the built-up area, not on the carpet area, right? So you are still using 80. Now that 80 is 70% of 110, not 100. That's where you end up paying higher. But again, that is mutually done between the occupier and the landlord.
Yeah, definitely.
But that is the funny part. So that is where people have stopped asking about efficiency.
Just the number.
You tell me how much the carpet is. Okay, so that is one major change. Now, see, apart from this, I think Bangalore mein approachability and all, people have stopped asking. Everywhere is traffic here. Everywhere. If it is not there here, maybe 100 meters later, you'll find traffic.
Yeah.
So that one point of, where we used to make a presentation having qualitative analysis, distance from the nearest metro, distance from the nearest bus stop, distance from the nearest auto stand. Although we still keep it, but
It's not as relevant as before.
that has reduced its weightage.
Yeah. Okay.
The other part, I think the occupiers are looking at how new age the building is.
Yeah.
How, forget about LEED certification, everything hai mante hai. But how good is the glazing? How good is the facade? Why that actually reduces their OPEX. Right? The generation of the chillers. Are there new gen chillers in the building? Or if you're talking about, say, if you're talking about MEP or say circulation, another good question these days have come up recently is what is the waiting time of lifts? In the lifts, yeah.
Okay.
In the peak hours.
Oh.
Anything beyond a 90-second is considered bad. So, right? I mean, you just imagine you're talking about 1 million square feet building. 1 lakh per floor. So you're talking about at least 1,000 people a floor.
Correct.
At an average. So you're talking about 10,000 people in one building.
Yeah.
And you still want to keep your waiting time for the lifts less than a 40-second or a 30-second. That is the number of lifts you need.
Correct.
Right? So one of the newest buildings we know, they have around 18 lifts.
So, in one building.
Yeah. 18 lifts. That's the reason. Right? That's how they have been LEED certified. But again, that will attract your power consumption, maintenance, carbon footprint.
Capital as well, right?
So that's all there. But that neutralizes the waiting time
So for clients, it's easier to convince.
Yes. So that is, I mean, people are getting into these nitty-gritties now, right? Now, the other theory we see across the occupiers is, they are wanting a two-hub strategy.
Okay.
Okay. So if I have an office, say, in Diamond District today, I want another office in North Bangalore or maybe Whitefield, depending on where the talent pool is.
Correct. Like a registered, like head office and...
No, that can be a secondary office. Maybe a smaller one. Say 500 people in the company, 400 can be here, 100 over there.
Yeah.
That is for the BCP, Business Continuity Plan.
Correct.
Right? This kicked in, this concept again was there with all the multinationals, all the type of companies, but I think this kicked in after we saw many different things. Fiasco of traffic, where people are not able to reach their offices, missing meetings.
And a lot of people are like rejecting offices, like in terms of employment. They're saying no to the office because it's 20 kilometers away.
Okay.
In Bangalore, that is what, because now that I see how hiring is working on, I have seen a couple of people where they're told, oh, no, Diamond District, I stay in Yelahanka, I can't come, so cancel.
Understood.
But I get the point of, that is where I think the need of offices
secondary offices are there, right? So a travel giant or a logistic giant in the world, which has an office in Embassy Golf Links, they have a very small setup in North Bangalore as well. What happens is it makes them easy. So what happens, that part of the play, so those 30 people or 40 people, that eases up their life. That increases companies' productivity. Correct. In term, end of the day, they want the money here. Revenue is in the end. So that is how these things keep working. So now we all have studied transportation engineering, right? Now, this comes into the play.
Correct.
That acumen comes into the play. Now, somebody read a hotel management and they're talking this to the client. That is not an instant thing on the mind when it comes up. No. One client, I remember, he was I think European guy. Yeah, I think a German gentleman. I was coming from the wind tunnel road. Pets. He said, why are there so many breakers? Yeah. Don't you have a regulation of it? Trust me, my colleague said no. Yeah. Now, for all of us who have studied, we know there is something called an IRC.
Correct.
Right? We know, okay. And he said, every breaker is different. He pointed that out. This is very small, that is very big. Somewhere, I think he was a 6 feet 3 inch tall guy. So, when the car just went in, he hit his head on the top. It's like, this is a big one. And that is a small one. I mean, why this differentiation? We do not have one of my colleagues said, no. And I'm talking this almost 5-7 years ago. I mean, I was not with Colliers that time. Long time ago. And I was like, there's something called IRC. We know what is the angle, what is the distance. And so I think these are the things which matters. On the long run of you might say, how does it matter? But it matters.
At some point, it comes back.
Yeah, it does. It does. You do not know. It's not consciously that, I have to use that knowledge. I have to tell this. I have to tell that. I do not do that. Right? It comes out spontaneously. And that's what we call acumen all about.
Correct. Right. So when we have spoken about, let's say, the getting of a client, the requirement, the trend in terms of their asks, right? What kind of changes have come up in the market recently? One more thing is, one is with the, let's say, the client side. Second is in terms of the employee side. Okay, let's say in occupier services or IPCs, if we talk in general. Now, recently, like there are a lot of civil engineers who are coming into this kind of spaces. Now, how do you see someone getting into these kind of spaces from a conventional construction background? Because, that is something that you have seen, right?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. See, I was always towards the business development side. Hence, I think the story was slightly different. But I've seen the other stories which I'd be able to tell you people, right? See, first thing first, if you are interested in something, first is the knowledge of it. For us, there was nobody to tell us, there is a IPC, there is this type of companies, there is this type of opportunity. We had to discover it on our own. So I think we come from the generation where N series of Nokia used to be there and 2G, it used to not work properly.
Correct.
Now we have, most of us have maybe 1 or 2 numbers, 5G internet, we are talking about 6G, 7G. So we know what kind of companies do exist. The other thing is, first is this awareness is highly required.
Then these are in the market, yeah.
So for a traditional guy who's just passed out of college, 3-4 years working in a company, they're a site engineer or a planning guy or a contracts guy, you have to first explore what is there in the market. There's a company called Turner and Townsend, there's a company called Colliers, there's a company called Vestian, there's a company called JL. Even till the NICMAR, I think I did not know half of the name here.
Same. And when you go to NICMAR, during placements, we saw seniors and okay, this is also covered.
This is also there.
This is also covered.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that type of thing, BIM companies were pretty new. The VDC and all of those companies were pretty new. So that was one. And, companies like, say, Pidlite or a Hilti, they require engineers as specification consultants, right? We had no clue about it. And that's a job, maybe if you like talking to people, it's an amazing job.
Yeah.
Amazing job. Hilti is the next level here. I mean, with your offer letter, you get a car.
Yeah. That's how it was sold.
Yeah.
I still remember. Yeah. And it used to be like a discussion, okay, previous batch got a Polo, we are getting a Swift.
Correct. So, I mean, that's how I think. So, we need to be aware. That's the first thing. Second thing is you need to do your own research.
Correct.
Right? When from different background, when I had to get into a IPC and getting into a IPC, especially into office services, is very, very difficult. The reason being I can get into evaluation because I have a degree and all. I mean, I know financials, you must have worked on contracts, you must have worked on planning, consulting where you can go, technical due diligence where you can go. Getting into office services was the most difficult thing for us. Now, that's where you need to do your own research. There are enough resources available online. So CBR, Cushman, Colliers, everybody publishes report.
And every quarter, every month.
Every quarter we have reports. Now, aspiring engineers, if you go through those reports, you may not understand. First 2 times you may not understand, okay, what is a CVD, what is a SBD, what are the absorption, kya hota hai? You may not understand. I mean, but did you actually understand what a laptop is when you saw it for the first time? Did you know the potential of it? We don't.
Correct.
So similarly, we have to keep doing it. So I used to read these reports. I mean, I used to not understand at all. Okay, what is absorption? Is it released? Is it built? Upcoming projects समझ आता है. What is absorption? What is your vacancy ratio? See, we have to keep guessing. Now that I'm in this part of the thing, what happened is I started understanding. See, that is how you go through those interviews. And getting into an IPC, I would say it's not only because I had a market knowledge or anything. I think more or less they saw the acumen in me.
Correct.
The hunger in me. And that is how I believe almost all the IPCs, all the MNCs who are consulting work.
And because it's a very highly competitive market.
Yes.
Especially Bangalore market, right? You have all the big players. You have Colliers.
Yes. Yeah. We have CBA, we have
JLL,
we have
Cushman, Knight Frank. So there are many players.
3 of us are based in the same campus.
Same campus. Yeah.
Embassy Golf Links is where we all are.
So highly competitive. So I understand, in terms of acumen. Now, in terms of growth, let's say one part is getting in. Then what is the growth like?
Constant learning.
Sure. About markets, about technical, how?
That's where I was. It can be technical, it can be non-technical.
Sure.
See, today, if a client asks me, I didn't know this, I should go back and learn about it. Correct. Right? Today, about the market, I should network. I should keep getting information. That is non-technical side of it. There is another side of it, which is constant learning. See, today I use Excel and PowerPoint to the nth level, but I'm just above average using them. There are my colleagues who are much better, but they have been doing for more longer period of time that I am, right? Every company has a team who is good at Excel and PowerPoint, and we dump our jobs on them.
Correct.
But it is highly necessary for you to be confident about it, right? It's not about only Excel. Yeah, today I'll tell you, to send a proposal, a client was about to, they were very, very active, and they were very sorted on one particular building. So in the proposal, one thing actually which I got a feedback from one of the very mid-level guy from the client. He said, our boss just liked it how you put a picture of that building with our logo there. Everybody likes branding.
Correct.
Okay. That is the psychology. Now you are a director of a firm. If I put up if I'm giving you a proposal, we are almost sorted on the place. We are almost sorted on the commercial. The final proposal, when you get and you see the building name and you see the logo on it, it's a game changer. Now you have to keep innovating those approaches. Now another a good friend of mine says you have to create problems which are already there, but they are not aware of it.
I said that is sugar-coated version of saying, you don't have a problem, I'll tell you what the problem is.
But ideally there are problems. Right? There are biggies in the market who have, say, employee strength of 10,000 people, 5 to 7,000 people. They only have 3,000 to 4,000 desks because of the hybrid. We last 3 years because of the hybrid.
Weekly 3 days, weekly 2 days kind of thing. Yeah.
Now you have to make them realize that they are just sleeping on it, thinking that they're not thinking about it. They're not sleeping because they're not thinking about it. Now, when you make them realize, okay, if you do not take this up for a year, you might save, say, 60 crores. But if you do not take it up today versus you take it up 1.5 years later, that particular rental which is going steep in the market now, it has a growth phase. It's not going to be stagnant anytime in the next 5 years. So, for example, the outer ring road, well, it's not going to be stagnant. It's going to go at least double of what it is today. By the time the metro comes up.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Hosur Road, not a great market. 50 rupees, 60 rupees market it used to be. Till date, the metro hasn't started. The testing started. The landlord started quoting at 20% higher the price quoting.
Yes.
Right? A 60 rupees went to a 75. So, see, these trends you have to educate the client. And then you have to give them a proper reasoning and the calculation for it. Because, this is this. If you take up this year, you might spend up earlier. This 50 crores you're going to spend early. But over 10 years, what you're going to save? Correct. Because of the higher starting numbers or lower starting numbers versus your higher starting number and escalation.
And escalations every year, yeah.
Trust me, our escalations earlier used to be a 12% or a 15% over 3 years. Okay? Now they have come to a level of 5% every year.
5%, yeah.
5 3s are 15. But, I'll ask it in the question answer round. Is it equal?
No. It's simple versus compound, yeah.
So that is where I think that is how the things are changing, right? The things are changing. That you have to educate to the client. Okay, but today if you take, you might be able to, we might be able to convince the landlord to give you a 12% or a 14% over 3 years wala theory. But not after 2 years. Because almost everybody would have migrated from that system to a 5% per annum system. So these are very small things. But what is the implication of it? We understand. You have to find a way to make the clients understand. Here, it can be in numbers, it can be in graphs. Sometimes it can be just gap.
So in terms of markets, so when we speak about, let's say, rates, right? let's just stick to this city, right? Which are those tech parks, which are those areas, let's say, you have the highest rates for rental?
So basically, this entire city is primarily divided into three parts.
Yes.
Central business district, secondary business district, and peripheral business district. Okay. Now, because Bangalore being Bangalore is so huge. Okay? We have, say, 3-4 more regions. Like ECT is a different zone altogether. Mysore Road is a different zone altogether. Sarjapur Road is a part of Outer Ring Road. Now, we have Outer Ring Road as one zone. It's not peripheral business district.
Correct.
Whitefield is another area, and North Bangalore. So we have approximately 7 divisions of the city, right? In those 7, obvious thing is the central business district being the costliest market.
This is your MG Road. This
SG Road, Kasturba Road, till beginning of your Indira Nagar, that side till beginning of your Kormangla,
Yeah.
Richmond Circle.
Correct.
That's where. I mean, we all must have read the articles about Apple taking up spaces. Right? 220 rupees from Embassy, 180 rupees 3 years ago from Prestige.
Yeah.
I mean, they were not letting us sell anything because the vacancy in CBD is never crossing a 3.54%.
Yeah.
And that I'm talking on a higher side. Today, while we are talking, must be sometime it reaches a 1.2 or 1.5% also. Maybe somebody will move out. So it becomes a 2%.
But it's a very hot pace of market, right? Very hot pace.
Yes.
Yes. Huh.
Everybody wants that.
Everyone wants.
But the prices are thrice of the prices at versus a Whitefield or a North Bangalore.
True.
So North Bangalore is very much upcoming.
And the entire airport road is the next.
Yes. So
what are the prices like? Let's say, like you said, CBD probably around 200.
CBD can start right from 150, can go up to 300 rupees.
Okay.
Right. Secondary business district is somewhere between 120 to 200 rupees or 180 rupees.
Hey.
And the north stands at the 80, say 50 to 80. Whitefield stands at a 60 to 90 number.
Yes.
90 is again a very few properties which you would find. We're a premium one, which is close to your Outer Ring Road.
Outer Ring Road, yeah.
Neither we're at a 85 or a 80, 60 to 80, 85 number. When we are looking at a electronic city or so, we can have the ranges right from a 45 to a 60, 65 is a very big number, or 70 maximum. Again, grade A buildings, when you talk about, they are talking about a 80 or a 70 number.
Correct.
But again, those are quoted numbers. Those are signing numbers are at a 60s or 70s. Right?
Correct.
Hosur Road, very interestingly, as I was saying earlier, I mean, a particular building, I remember we had a conversation about closer number around 45 per square feet or around 48 per square feet. They're not coming below 70 rupees now.
Yeah.
That particular floor is still vacant.
But they're still adamant of 70.
Yeah, see, the point is, it's about who has the capacity to hold.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Who has the leverage in the...
Yes, absolutely. I mean, see, now Manyata Tech Park, one of the biggest in Asia. Right? It's almost 15 million square feet in one tech park. The clients never want to move out. Right next to it, our MS Ramaiah, they have come up with that black color building.
Correct.
It's called MSR North. That's a very interesting position to be. Why? Because they're slightly around 10% lower rental than the Manyata. Because Manyata is an ecosystem.
Correct.
This is a campus, big good building, amazing building, but good one. And they have positioned themselves as an alternative to a Manyata, right? Now the point is...
Addressing the same talent pool.
Yes. So now the point is, those guys are also holding, say, 4 floors on the top for the future. Because, see, you have to neutralize it, right? You need a particular revenue number.
Correct.
Now, we talk about a Brookfield, who is one of the biggest landlord in the country. Brookfield can structure deals which nobody else can. Let's be honest. Embassy can be as flexible as they can be.
Correct.
Satwas, again, structuring a deal is amazing with them. So everybody comes with their own advantages, right? These numbers, when we say, okay, it's 150 or 100 rupees number, from sometime it can be effective 85 number. Market is at 100. I can prove it to be effective 85 with one of the developers with the staggered model.
Correct.
So that is another point where you need to use your acumen, your brain, and understand clients' requirements. There are some clients who are cash rich. They don't bother. I want this. This is my budget. You get me the best one than that. But there are guys who aspire to be bigger, but may not have the budget now. But they might be okay with certain other commercial terms, say early escalations, say higher deposits, say higher lock-ins. So see, these numbers change on that.
Correct.
These numbers change on that.
There's no standard or a rule there. It's all mutually agreed, I guess.
There is always a standard from where you start talking.
Correct.
Okay. An offer always, so today, a 5-year term in an agreement is a common thing.
First.
5 plus one more option to renew for a 5-year. 3-year lock-in is a common thing. That is a base offer. And then you have to, as a consultant, you have to structure it according to what the landlord wants and what the occupier wants. So that is where the bridge has to be built. So that is where we play around. Yeah, we play around. So you see, I'll tell you, Bangalore broking market or the commercial real estate in terms of broking is a 1,200 crores market.
Correct.
Okay. We are around 500 consultants in the city. Right? So average agar dekha jaye, we are talking about a 2.5 crores of billing per broker across. It can be IPC, it can be non-IPC. Now, if you're looking at that, you're one of, so if you're able to do a client, if you're able to take a client, get them the right office space, you may not be one of the top 10% broker today. But if you consult the clients, you'll always be on the 10%.
Correct.
You'll always be on the 10%. We are talking about a huge market, right? 1,200 crores in one city is amazing. And we're only talking commercial.
Correct. Not
residential is way different. Retail is way different. We're only talking office space. So today, past 3 years, office spaces have been my life. Hence I can talk it, the all day long.
And the biggest market in India.
Yeah. So we are at a 212 million square feet out of 790 million square feet of the entire country. So which is close to 30% of the entire country market, right? So yeah, I'm telling you, even between Colliers, Bangalore or to Colliers, Bombay, people, if they do not have limitations of family or anything over there, they would love to come here.
Correct.
Or a Delhi guy, they would love to come here. Why? Because the opportunity is huge. So, when we talk cross teams or cross locations, they keep telling, you guys do not talk less than 50,000 or 100,000 square feet here. We keep doing at 20,000, 10,000, 13,000, 12,000 square feet, and you guys straight away will come up with...
We start with 50 or 100,
But that is not the truth. Across teams, banter is okay. But that's not the truth here. See, sometimes a client wanting a smaller space can also give you a bigger revenue.
Correct.
I'll not get into how we get that revenue. But you have to identify those opportunities even if you do not have bigger clients in hand. How to maximize out of the opportunity. So those, I think, I'll take it offline if somebody wants to know, but
So, look, before we conclude, Amrit, so if, let's say, tomorrow, they want to transition, right? My students who are, some will be interested to transition into, let's say, the IPC market, occupier services.
Versus a PMC, versus a facility.
Correct. There are multiple things, right? As someone who has been a part of a big IPC firm, what are the minimum requirements that you look at when you are looking at, let's say, hiring from engineering backgrounds?
I'll tell you, so right now I'm hiring.
Huh.
Okay. Although it's a very flat structure, we all report to our directors.
Correct.
But I mean, every team keeps on eyeing some kind of talent to be pulled in the next 2 quarters or 1 quarter's time. First thing what I require is the communication.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, it's a client-facing role. Communication has to be.
Your bread and butter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second thing is the structured approach. You may not have done business development, but if you know, I mean, you go through your books, you go through your, the Kotler books, or you go through podcasts, you go to whatever. I mean, if you have a structured approach and you are able to convey that during your interview, that is what the director level people are looking at. They are not looking at, I mean, sir, I have 500 clients who I know. Then, I mean, you are a proven theory in the market. If you want to transition, that is what they would look. Your conviction towards adhering to a structured approach. Okay. You might be a contracts guy. Right? I know a contract guy transitioning into a BD role, say 3 years ago. I'll tell you his story. I think that will be almost similar to what your guys would look at. He chose to give examples of his contracts experience as an analogy to what he would do in business development. Right? Small things like reminder for follow-ups. Right? I'm telling you, any sales, you go to my bosses. Okay? You go to my boss's bosses. We still struggle to have, have a 100% record on our follow-up setup.
Correct.
I can have reminders on the phone. I can have alarms. I can do everything. Some or the other time, you are in a meeting. You switch on the alarm, you forget. But did I put that alarm? Is my structured approach. My forgetting is a mistake that I made.
Correct.
Right? Can I do that? Can I do that? Take that extra step to schedule that alarm or a calendar request? Is my approach towards working. That is what is more required. Even if you've worked in, say, contracts or evaluation or a site execution, you have to submit your MIS.
Correct.
You have to submit your weekly reports. How good are you with that? How good are you with your dashboarding? So you have to use those as your, what do you say?
You have to extrapolate that, yeah.
As your guns when you go to fight those war. Because else you would never be able to transition. Right? Do I want to transition first thing?
Correct.
Yes, I want to transition. How? If I say how and what have I done in the past to what I want to transition, this is the journey where you need to go. Okay, I have been doing this in this method. Yahan pe ye hota hai. Right here, I have to identify new clients as a procurement guy, for example. Okay, it's a very easy example. I chose it. Procurement guy has to keep identifying vendors every day.
Correct.
Now you do it from Google. You take it from references. As a BD guy, I have to keep finding leads every day.
How you find it, that's secondary.
That's secondary.
Correct.
So, somebody who has worked in the planning or a procurement, if they convey during the interview, so finding a new thing is not new for me. This should be a statement.
Correct.
Finding a new lead is not new for me. Earlier, I used to find it for internal users. Now I have to find it for the business purposes.
Yes.
You have no connects. Connects are to be developed.
Correct.
Okay. Connects are to be developed. That I don't have connects. That is the least of anybody's concern who's going to hire you.
So,
why we expect you to make those cold calls? This is the most important point. How open are you to make those cold calls?
Yeah. Because some will have hesitance. Like,
Yes.
I'm a manager, should I call?
No, I tell you, till date, I have a hesitant here. I have a hesitance when, say, for example, we go through a LinkedIn. Okay, say I'm approaching Ascent School. Okay, the Niyanth is the co-founder.
Here.
Right now, if any broker calls you up, right now, say you answer the call and say, okay, I'm busy and you can't take it, right?
Yeah.
Now, can I call you back again? Within me, I'll have that question always.
Correct.
Because you might have been a little rogue to me, right? That's where that follow-up I should do in 2 days or 3 days. That is the thing that I used to use here. You have to, the biggest thing you have to make a note is remove the fear of rejection.
Correct. Okay. That is with every sales.
And one thing is there, yeah, sales we have been doing all of you have been doing at every point of your life. Yeah. You submit every report, you are selling that report that it is correct to your bosses.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
If you are saying, okay, no, this much quantity, if your boss cross questions you, okay, is it right? Then you are selling that idea, I have done the theory correct. This is right. So sales is happening in your day-to-day life at every point. Now, how you use it to excel in your career is what you have to decide.
Yeah.
Now, just to give you a little more insight, what also happens is the office services comes with a good lucrative payout structure as well.
Correct.
But if you are able to crack it,
Because most of us are, addicted to the drug of salary, right? So today, if somebody says, you can earn 20-30 lakhs of incentive, but I will give you a 5 lakh basic pay. I don't think most of them would agree.
Correct. Most of them want the basic to be the biggest one.
They would rather say, give me a fixed of 15.
Correct.
Remove the
Incentive.
other part.
Correct.
That is what differentiates our office services from all the other functions in an IPC. Right? I have seen examples on my own where, young guys at a 5, 7, 8 lakh salaries are making 40-50 lakhs of incentives.
there's just one statement I intended to tell. This is the kind of scope you have.
Okay.
On the other hand, you need to go that extra length.
Correct.
That extra mile, you have to travel. You have to do those deals. You have to do. How do you do those deals? Well, go in the market. Milega. Work is there. And we are sitting in Bangalore here. Biggest commercial real estate market. Not in India, but one of the biggest in Asia, you can say.
Correct.
See, China is seeing a dip.
Recently, last 2 years.
Last 2 years, China is seeing a dip. Every company now, they say APAC minus China. Any head who comes, they will be saying, well, I am heading APAC without China. China will have a different head.
Yeah.
Because their strategies are completely different, the numbers are completely different. Now, that has to have something. You're sitting in the biggest market, you're sitting on a gold mine of opportunities. If you want to really encash that, you have to go through that process. You have to use your past experience as an analogy to what you can do.
Yeah.
That is where it sells.
Right. Yeah. So with that, thank you again for coming in, giving a lot of insights on how commercial real estate works, the client requirement, the new trends, understanding of BIM, everything. Now let's open it up for any Q&A, any discussion.
When it comes to the commercial real estate, when we have to pitch to a client, pitching to an individual client, strategies are different. So when we are pitching to a organization or a commercial sector, what are the strategies that you face? And what is that, it makes very important.
What do you mean by individual client?
Pitching to Niyanth as an individual for one piece of office is different.
Yes.
Pitching for Ascend for institution is different.
Yes.
So how do you lay out the strategies for the Ascend?
So see, company-wise, different sizes have different requirements.
Yes.
Okay. Knowing different type of companies already, we have a few conceived notions about that.
He.
Okay, if it's a gaming company, for example, they would love a very vibrant workspace. If it's a fintech company, I'm telling you that they do not like vibrant workspaces. They wanted a bland workspace. It can be only white, blue. It can. So I need to pick those right places for them and pitch it. Right, Moss, where you guys are sitting right now, it's a great example because shit. This I think nobody pitched you this. You guys came up directly, right? But this space may not be an apt space for a fintech sector or a development sector. Okay, so sector-wise we define. Then it depends on the founders. When it is smaller organizations, it depends on the founders. I have to personally connect with them. I have to find what is their mindset. Right. So for Ascend, this amphitheater is the most required thing. Right? Because sitting of their, say, whatever number of employees they have, they can sit anywhere. But this amphitheater is one of their main requirements. So I have to choose only this place to pitch to Niyanth. No. I cannot, if I say, wahan bhi hai, where is the amphitheater? That. And then he starts losing trust on me because he's not giving me right options. And honestly saying, every client has a smaller window always. So today, if you want to buy a Zara jacket, right, you spend time looking at it. But trust me, you would not spend time if you have to, you would not spend time on while buying a house, that amount of time going to that place again and again. You would have a hesitation towards that. All right. Similarly, while taking up a new office, the clients visit once. We have to make sure that they see every aspect what they require to see. Because time and again, coming to the same place, this might have been the most suitable place. Okay? Maybe I missed showing this amphitheater to Niyanth in the first time. He may not have time again to come with me, or he may not trust me again to come here. Here the same thing, why would I do it again? So maybe I'll rectify my mistake, maybe sending a couple of photos or maybe a deck, whatever. So you have to take it whatever it does. Strategy-wise, I'm telling you, there's no formula in sales. There's no formula. This is the only trade in the world which has got no formula. I cannot say that today, if I do this, I will get this as a result. Nothing doing it. Why? Because there is human interactions involved. Right? So every different deal, every different transaction, every pitch has to be tailor-made. So if I talk to you versus if I talk to him, I have to tailor-make for both of you. I cannot have the same pitch for you and him.